Hello, welcome back for another video on Liverpool FC. Quite a bit to get through today, so do excuse it if it is a tad longer than normal. I sort of end up waiting for enough news to do a video one, and then it sort of explodes, and suddenly there's quite a lot to catch up on. So I'll do my best to keep it as short as possible. First game that I'm yet to speak about, the Liverpool Wolves match. Nervy, tense game. 1-0 win. Mane. That man again with the goal, great long ball from Van Dijk. The Lallana kind of nods it on, comes off his shoulder. They did the VAR check and definitely wasn't an arm. And Mane finished it off. So yeah, that was really hoped it would have been a little bit easier than that. But you know, all the teams in history that have won titles, there's a lot of 1-0 wins, 2-1 wins, a lot of close games. Liverpool have done quite a habit of that this season of winning games, just doing enough to win matches rather than sort of blowing teams away 3-4, 5-0. They're sort of just conserving energy. The rotation that Klopp's used, across a few competitions has paid dividends and paid off. So yeah, a good 1-0 win. A couple of scary moments, quite a nervy game, but I felt we were in control of that game, and I thought if Wolves did equalise, I felt we could go on and get another goal. I thought once we had that 1-0 lead, we were managing it quite well. Wolves obviously, especially after the midweek game before that they'd just come off a win against Man City. So a really good team that will easily come in the top 10, possibly the top 8 this season. So yeah, a nice 1-0 win there. Obviously, we came to the end of the decade. That was the last match of 2019 for Liverpool. Last match at Anfield as well. So it was really nice to end on a high. I have that feel every time we get to that time of year. It's nice to end the year well and start positively into the next one. So that was really good to see. A little bit of a theme across YouTube has been teams of the decades for obviously different clubs or Premier League combined, but obviously Liverpool sort of looked, well, the Redmen TV looked at their one. Pretty much the team we've got now, plus Gerrard, Carragher and Suarez was in their team. Personally for me, 2010, I think Gerrard was obviously still okay, but 2011, 2012, 2013, he was coming to the end. His role did change. He did become more defensive. So I'm not too sure if he should be in the team of the decade, or even though he's a legend, to the 2000 to 2010 decade was definitely where he was at his prime. Sort of from 2001 onwards, 05 where he really came into his prime, and sort of for the next 5-6 years he was something else, wasn't he? But yeah, if you're going from 2010 to 2020 or 2019, I'm not sure Gerrard gets in for me. Carragher was also in the Redmen TV, even more of a reason not to, bearing in mind from 2010 he was already in his early 30s, into mid 30s. So again, shows you we've not really had that many good centre backs over the last decade. If we're whacking Carragher in again, another player that the decade before, by all means, absolute legend, but 2010s, I'm not too sure he gets in. Suarez, in terms of pure quality, it's hard to argue. It was only for the short term. There was a lot of baggage included with Suarez as well, which you can take if a player is that good, but ultimately we didn't really win anything with Suarez, and he did move on pretty quickly as well to Barcelona. So for me, the team of the decade is this current team. I love my team. The current 11 that we have, even with Henderson dropping into that sort of defensive midfield role in place of Fabinho, is what an incredible 11 we have. We've got a lot of injuries at the moment, which I'll come on to later, but yeah, the team of the decade for me is this current one now. That's the first 11 that would put out most games. Can't really argue with it. That they've won 3 trophies in the last 6 months. They're probably going to win the Premier League. They're probably going to win going to have a good chance of winning the Community Shield if you count that at the start of next season. And I can't see a reason we can't go to the latter stages of the Champions League as well. I mentioned in my last video, Atletico Madrid are a good side. Not going to be an easy team to get through against, but we beat Bayern Munich. We've beaten Man City over 2 legs. Barcelona, so I think we can do it. Atletico aren't top of the league in Spain. I think Madrid and Barca are joint top there. So I would expect us to go through. So, you know, keep the trophies coming, boys. We're all in our prime now. Obviously, I'll get onto contracts as well later on. But yeah, I'd say the current team is the team of the decade for me quite easily. Moving on then, the first game of 2020 was on the 2nd of Jan, home to Sheffield United. Really good early start, good early goal, settled all the nerves, 2-0 win. Little slip from the Sheffield United right back, let in Andy Robertson, who crossed it perfectly to Salah. Really simple, basic goal, but that's all you need, to be fair. Play simple football, and you'll win games. Pass when you should pass, keep the ball, and add that little bit of quality, which we have, which was great. So that got us off on a way. Second half, obviously Mane got another goal. Of course he did. 1-2 with Salah, which was really good. Which, yeah, pretty much, we're always looking for that second goal, aren't we? A 1-0 lead. You know, if you're 1-0 up and the other team nick a late goal, you've almost got no time to get the winner. So it's a dangerous game sitting on a 1-0. So, you know, when we do go get that second goal, as we did in that game, it's, you know, it's really comforting to just, you know, have a little bit of a relax, a little bit sit back in your seat, not on the edge of it, and then start enjoying the game again. So that was really good. A few stats off the back of that game. It was the most passes ever recorded in the Premier League. Klopp said in his interview after that he wanted to pass them to death, that he'd said that, you know, they'd watched a lot of videos of Sheffield United and no one had really done that to them yet. Keep the ball away from them and, you know, make them run. So obviously it clearly worked, because you know, Sheffield United have you know, done really well this season. They've caused some good teams a lot of problems. So yeah, I mean, to get a record amount of passes in the era of Pep Guardiola's Man City is very impressive. I think it's at around 900-ish passes in that game complete, which was awesome. It was our 18th straight Premier League win at Anfield, which is epic. It was our 5th Premier League clean sheet in a row, which is the first time we've done that since September 2007. Again, on a previous video, that was the one thing we were missing, wasn't it? The clean sheets were just not there. We weren't conceding a lot of goals, but we were conceding one a game. So, you know, now Gomez has kind of come in again. He's kind of rekindled that partnership with Van Dijk, which he had last season, which, personally, if he didn't break his leg at Burnley last year, I think we go on to win the Premier League. Them two together. I mean, Gomez he's not Van Dijk. He's not, you know, he does still make the odd error, the odd swipe. He does look shaky a little bit at times, but alongside Van Dijk, he's the best option we have. And I think as he's at such a young age, him and Trent can, you know, really build a partnership going forward when the likes of Van Dijk do start hitting, you know, the 33s, that them two will be still prime, and, you know, half our defence will still be solid and still have experience and, you know, previous success. So that was excellent to see. The clean sheets are now racking up. Keep that coming, which is superb. Gives us a great chance of winning the game if we're not conceding goals. And, you know, another stat I saw which was really good: if we win our next league game, it's the greatest start to any top flight league in history for a team. So we would have won, we won 18 wins and drawn 1 or something like that. So we would, you know, to have dropped 2 points, you know, in the first half of a season. No one's ever done that, or better. So that would be superb. I mean, I think we're 13 matches off Arsenal's unbeaten record of 49. That 49th game is at the Etihad against Man City. So a little bit of revenge there for last year. You know, as long as we avoid defeat, happy days. Keep that lead in the league. You know, I was thinking, you know, imagine if we go the whole season unbeaten and beat City's 100 points, you know, record total as well. That would be the end of the debate of the greatest Premier League team of all time, wouldn't it? I mean, you know, obviously, if you're going by one-off seasons, then that, you know, we would have won that discussion. Obviously, when you're talking about the greatest Premier League teams, some people may look at longevity. They might have won 2 or 3 back-to-back titles. So, you know, personally, unless Man City change, you know, 5-6 players in the summer, I think we go on to win the league this year, and I think we go on to win it back-to-back next year as well. So, you know, that's pretty confident. So, yeah, you know, to get I don't know if we'd get a gold Prem trophy if we went a whole season unbeaten. Arsenal did, so I don't see why we wouldn't. And yeah, to get 100 points or more and beat City's little Centurion record would be absolutely epic. So, fingers crossed we do that. You know, we're 13 points clear of Leicester, 14 clear of City as it stands. we've got a game in hand on both, so that could potentially be 16 and 17. That game in hand is against West Ham, and they have just changed their manager, so they are a much more difficult prospect than they were, a few weeks ago. So still beatable. They're still the same players. I would expect us to win that game. Obviously, moving on, the last game that I'm going to talk about, obviously, is that FA Cup match at the weekend where we beat Everton. I was actually at my son's. He was at a party of a friend, so I missed the first half. But obviously, Minamino making his debut, which was great to see. Klopp said he's definitely the player that they wanted. I caught the second half and obviously saw the best bits and caught up with some of the highlights. Adrian made some good saves first half, and looking at the teams that came out, Everton basically first team, the team that would come out in the Premier League. Liverpool, a mixture of one or two players that you would normally see, the Lallana, Gomez, Milner. Other than that, you got Origi, and then the majority was youth and untested players. Even Milner went off injured, and Larouci came on. You had Williams on the other side, Elliott, Jones. So yeah, I mean, Everton, were the favourites for the first time at Anfield in a long time. But yeah, again, Liverpool somehow pull it off. I mean, Jones, what absolute stunner! What a goal from Curtis Jones, the Scouse local lad. I don't think Everton are ever going to win at Anfield, are they? Really, we're beating them with arguably our B/C team, 1-0. So, fourth round draw, we're away to Bristol City or Shrewsbury. So I would expect a similar team in that one. I am surprised he played Milner in that game. Obviously he's picked up the hamstring injury. He is 30 odd. I don't think you can keep playing him. I mean, he's played a lot recently with us having other injuries as well. So I was surprised he started, and I'm not surprised he got picked up an injury, and it looks like a bad one. So we're going to be missing him for a little while, which is a shame. We can definitely make do, but it's we need some players back quickly because it is starting to add up a bit. We've got, as I say, we've got Milner now injured. Matip and Lovren are still out. Keita's seems to pick up a niggle here and there. He's currently injured. Shaqiri as well seems to pick up a lot of injuries. Fabinho is still out. Klein, I'll get onto him later, but he's obviously still out. And luckily Chamberlain's just coming back from his injury he picked up at the World Club Cup. So he came on against Everton as a sub, which was good to see him get some minutes as well. So, yeah, really, really happy with that we've gone through. We could have done without an extra game, but if he plays the same sort of team, which, bearing in mind the opposition this time is lower league or championship, I think it will be fine. Everybody will get a day off when that one comes around because it's sandwiched again, I think, between a couple of the Premier League fixtures. So, yeah, there's nothing like watching the FA Cup draw as they're waiting for your team to come out. We were the last team out this time. Us and Man City were in there for quite a long time. I was thinking, God, we're going to get them, aren't we? But yeah, if you can go through in the FA Cup, the League Cup is pants, but the FA Cup it still means a lot. It's still pretty special. So I think it's a big trophy, although it's not anywhere near the Champions League and the Premier League. It's nice to be involved, and look at United's treble in '99. Bayern have got treble in recent years. Inter Milan have got a treble. Barcelona have done it. So, if we're this great team, why can't we? Let's go and win the FA Cup, the Premier League and the Champions League and get the treble and become one of the greatest teams of all time. Why not? So, I'd really like to see that. Obviously, a few other things to talk about off the field, which is kind of the other half of this video. So probably will be about half an hour long. Hopefully not quite. Obviously, transfer window is now open. The rumour mills are going to start going. Gini Wijnaldum has been sort of linked as he's got about 18 months left on his contract. I'll get onto that later. But personally, I think, I've got a lot of injuries, which I've mentioned. I think left back is a big area where we need to strengthen. I know Milner fills in there to give Robertson a rest. I know on the right-hand side, we have got Klein. I don't know if he'll ever be back from injury, bearing in mind his contract runs out this summer. But I think left back is an area we could strengthen. I'm not saying replace Robertson by any means. He's absolutely world class, but a backup left back or a backup fullback that can play left or right, would be preferable. Obviously, centre-back, we've had to recall Phillips to cover. You'd expect Lovren and Matic to be back soon, so you'd think we'd have cover there. But again, Lovren's another one, contract coming to an end, which I'll get to shortly. And Koulibaly, one I really fancy, has been linked with a move away from Napoli. So, I mean, we've already got 4 of the best back 5 in the world for me. So I think if you add a Koulibaly in there and make Gomez a third choice centre-back / backup right-back for Trent, I think that's the way to go for me. So, as I mentioned, contracts expiring in this summer. We've got Lonergan, which is the 4th choice goalkeeper. I think he's nearly 40. I think he'll probably be on his way. Nathaniel Klein's contract is expiring, and that is an interesting one because he's basically not played for 2 years. So there's no kind of form to go on. Do we give him a new deal? He's only 26, 27. Or do we just say, you're another Daniel Sturridge, we can't really rely on you anymore, and release him? But obviously, if we do, then the right back area is another area where we may need to strengthen. Gomez is 100% a centre back, so he does struggle at right back. He can do a job there, but it would be good to have another attacking fullback as an option, as it would be at left back as well. So Lallana's the other one, expiring this summer. He does have an option for a further year, which I would expect us to take up. We don't tend to sell our players towards the end for low money. We tend to keep them and let the contract expire and use them, as much as we can, and lose them on a free, which is fine. It probably saves you money for that year using Lallana. He's been pretty valuable, actually. I wasn't too sure why we were keeping him in the summer, and he had struggled with injuries, but he's come on really well this season. So he's filled in really, really well, which is great. So I would expect him to extend for another year. People expiring at the end of next year. We've got Wijnaldum, Lovren, and Adrian. Wijnaldum will be 30 at the time that expires. Lovren will be 32 and Adrian will be 34. So I would expect, obviously, Wijnaldum's been linked because he's into his last 18 months. I would expect Wijnaldum to get an extension pretty soon, if not now, then at least in the summer. Lovren, I think we'll keep him until then and release him in summer 2021. And Adrian, obviously he'll be 34, but as a goalkeeper, especially his second choice, he's got an option for a further year, which I think we'll take up. So that will be good to see him stay, as he's done a great job as a backup keeper. So I mentioned we've got five of the best back 6 if you include the goalie. 4 of the best back 5 if you include the goalie in the EA Sports Team of the Year. Addison, Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson and Mane. They've all got in the EA Sports Team of the Year, rightly so. I think the likes of Mbappe and Messi, De Jong, Kante, De Bruyne and De Ligt make up the 11. So Liverpool dominated in that team, which is really, really good to see. But it just shows you that there is that gap in the back 5, that second centre-back, which we have not quite done to the same level as the others. So that is definitely an area for improvement. I'll leave the Spurs preview to the end. Hopefully I won't forget. Nike kit deal has been announced today. Obviously it wasn't a brilliantly kept secret. It is one we've had going on for a while. We did know it was coming after the New Balance sort of court case, but saw a really nice Nike retro Adidas candy one online with the sort of the pattern, the John Barnes sort of era. I'd love it if we did something like that. Obviously Nike are quite famous for having one template and changing the colours to suit all the teams they cover, but I can't see Nike copying an Adidas shirt to that extent. But it is really, really nice. Have a check if you search Nike retro candy Liverpool kit, you'll see it on Google. It does look amazing, so that would be incredible. But yeah, we shall wait and see. I'm sure there'll be some leaked images soon about some Nike kits coming up. I think they officially take over on June the 1st. So obviously historically we normally wear our new home shirt for the season coming on the last home game of the current season. but having changed from New Balance to Nike, that's not going to be possible this year. So obviously it's different when you're remaining with the same, the same manufacturer, but that won't happen this year, which is a shame. But from June the 1st, we are with Nike, so I would expect something to come out in June or July for the kits, depending on how quick Nike sort that out. Tonight we've got the African Player of the Year announcement. Mane and Salah have both been nominated alongside Mahrez. For me, it's Sadio Mane all day long. What a year he has had. Salah is an unbelievable player, but the standards he set, he's almost made it harder for himself a couple of years ago. So, yeah, for me, Mane is currently our best player that we've had of the decade for me as well. So I'd like to see Mane win that tonight. Speaking about the decade, obviously I mentioned the team. The FC goal of the decade was another one that's been going around the houses. I've watched the Sky one, I've watched the Liverpool one. A few goals in each, and some that haven't been mentioned at all. So I'll quickly run through some of mine. Obviously Salah against Spurs. I think we took the lead 2-1 and still ended up blowing it 2-2 at home in the Premier League, when he sort of appeals for a free kick and still reacts quicker, gets the ball, cuts inside, does a player and bends it. Just sort of lobs it over Lloris in goal. A fantastic goal. Salah against Everton, when he cuts in on his left foot in the snow. I think that won the best goal. The Puskás Award of that season, something like that. Salah's goal against Chelsea, when he cuts in, instead of bending it this time, he absolutely powers it into the the goalkeeper's right at the far left. One that hasn't been shown in some of the videos was his goal against Roma in the run to Kiev, when he again cuts inside his left and bends it round Alisson in that 5-2 win, which is a great goal for me as well, one of my favourite ones. Chan against Watford was obviously featured in both. That overhead kick was sublime. Coutinho scored some absolute bangers. You could pick a few. He's very similar to Salah, but on the other side, cutting in on his right foot and bending him in. One against Stoke, I think, was one that's been shown a few times, but yeah, there's more than one that he scored like that. Another one that wasn't shown on either of them, Mane against Bayern away. The whole goal, the great ball from Van Dijk, the turn and the lob from Mane. Unbelievable, epic goal that was. A couple for more for what they meant and the excitement it gave me. Wijnaldum's header against Barcelona. It's a cracking goal for me in terms of the cross, the quality of the header, the leap, and what it meant. That was the goal that turned the tie for me. Obviously, Origi with the goal from the quick corner won us the game, and that's also on my list. Was another good goal, but yeah, I think Wijnaldum was the goal when we started thinking, hello, this is actually happening. Last two on my list, Henderson against Chelsea, when he, again, unbelievable strike from distance, and Suarez home to Norwich, when he hit the ball on the volley, was absolutely superb. So yeah, they're my goals of the decade. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 or 11 goals in there. And then yeah, obviously I'll leave on the Spurs preview this Saturday, 5:30. Getting back to the Premier League. It feels like ages since we've had a Premier League game now, and they were coming thick and fast over Christmas, so it's good to get back to the serious stuff. The team pretty much picks itself. Obviously Alisson in goal, Trent and Robbo, Van Dijk and Gomez. Midfield, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of injuries. I would expect Henderson in the 6, Lallana and Wijnaldum either side, and the usual front three, Salah, Firmino and Mane. Adrian will be obviously on the bench. Phillips will be on the bench for cover at centre-back. Chamberlain will be on the bench, as he's not had many minutes. He'll probably come on with 20, 30 minutes to go. Origi maybe coming on as well as a sub for a similar amount of time. And then the kids, really, Jones, Williams and Elliott, I would imagine, will be on the bench as well. Obviously, Williams as cover for fullback, and Jones and Elliott, one might get on depending on what the score is, or depending on injuries. But yeah, I would very much expect that to be the 11. Personally, in the game, obviously Jose Mourinho now at Spurs. No Harry Kane, which helps, as he's normally the sort of person that scores against us. So that will be helpful. They'll probably play Son through the middle. Sort of Lucas, maybe Ali, Ericsson, either side. So, let's do a good side. They lost to Southampton last week. So they're very inconsistent still. It's more than a winnable game. I would happily take a draw. We've got enough of a lead to afford ourselves a draw at Spurs. But as long as we don't lose, that's the main thing. But, it's definitely a game we can go and win for me. Which, if you look at Leicester and Man City, I don't think they've got the most difficult of games this weekend. But, they got to play each other again. They will have more difficult weekends than us coming up as well. So, yeah, maintain a double-figure lead for me, from now until maybe Feb, March, and it's pretty much going to be almost there. So that's it from me. I won't go on too much longer. Obviously, after that, we've got the United game. So I'll probably do my next video after the Spurs and United match and go from there. So take care and catch you soon.